I used to think that rejection was something that happened to people. It was an experience that they had. Then I realised that within my own life and speaking to clients, that they didn't feel that sting of rejection based on someone's actions. It was who the action came from, the context, and perhaps they felt rejection before it had even happened. They were bracing for that disappointment. And that's when I realised that rejection isn't something that we experience. It's an interpretation. It's a feeling. But that means that we can control it. We can decide what rejection is or isn't and use that to become the most confident version of ourselves. Welcome to the YouTube channel for Catch. My name is Sam and I'm the founder here at Catch. I ran multiple businesses, and by the time I was in my mid-20s, I was running a multi-million-pound department at a management consultancy. And what I noticed through success in my own life and working with around 15,000 global leaders was that the one thing they all had in common was confidence or a relentless self-belief. So that's why on this channel we give you all of the tools and the advice and the techniques to build that unshakable confidence and get everything that you want in your own life, whether that's in business, dating, friendships, in your mindset. A number of the clients that we work with, or most of the clients that we work with, have been through several rejections and either haven't been able to achieve what they want, or perhaps they've had positive experiences, but then they've had a knockback, such as a breakup or a divorce or made redundant, and then they've had to rebuild their confidence. So being able to shift our mindset around rejection can make the difference between getting what we want or not. So perhaps you have applied for a job or you've asked someone on a date. You've got a sinking feeling or a feeling of rejection whilst you're waiting to hear back. You haven't heard anything back yet. You don't know what the answer is going to be, and already you're bracing for disappointment. This often happens when we don't feel good enough or worthy for the opportunity or the person. We're not sure that we are on the same level, and therefore we are expecting disappointment, or perhaps we've been disappointed in the past, so we expect to experience that again. Now, perhaps you've been dating somebody and they've been cold, or they've ended it with you, or you haven't got the exact response you were hoping for, and that's made you feel rejected because you are really interested in this person. You're overanalyzing all their messages and all their behaviors, trying to figure out if you're going to get hurt or not, and interpreting whether something is rejection or not. Or perhaps you've had the alternative experience where a job or a person has rejected you, but you know that you are fully qualified for that role, perhaps even overqualified, or you're not interested in that role, you're not interested in that person. So you are completely unbothered about the fact that they have turned you down or you haven't got the response that you expected. We can experience the exact same response or behavior from two different people or in two different scenarios and feel completely different about it. We can interpret cold messages or overanalyze and decide that we're rejected before it's happened. Or we can be rejected and be unfazed, and perhaps that's even turned around or changed. Or we can feel completely confident that we're going to receive an outcome. So this shows that rejection, or the feeling of rejection, is the meaning or the interpretation that we are attaching to an action. So if someone that we are not interested in rejects us for a date or doesn't pursue us in the way that we assumed, we don't make that anything to do with us. We don't lower our self-worth. We don't believe that we are unchosen. We don't feel rejected because we didn't care about that person anyway. Our day is the same and continues the same as we expected it to, which is us feeling confident, feeling good. Whereas if someone we are very interested in does something that we perceive as rejection, such as a cold message or not asking us out on a date or turning us down, then we might take that very personally. But it's what we're deciding it means. So if someone we're very interested in rejects us, we might make that mean we're never going to meet the right partner. No one that I'm interested in is ever interested in me. This person is out of my league. Of course they were going to reject me. Or even if, as I say, it's just cold text messages, or they turn us down because they're away or with someone else at the moment, we might take that no as a permanent no. So I'll say it again. It isn't the experience or the circumstance we find ourselves in. It's what we make it mean about us. Now, I've spoken once before on this channel about when I started dating an ex-partner, I actually initiated with them because we knew each other through work and I knew that they were interested, and I flirted with them. And that person at the time turned me down and said, I do not want a relationship at work. Now, I wasn't thinking about a relationship at all. This was at some work drinks. It was a casual conversation. And I remember saying, who said anything about a relationship? And kind of walked off. What was interesting about my response is that I didn't take it as rejection. I knew this individual was interested in me. It was a very casual conversation. I was left confused, why would he turn me down? But I didn't make it think anything about me because I knew that he was interested. So my internal monologue was, there must be something going on with him or he will change his mind. Now, 2 weeks later, he did change his mind and we ended up dating and going into a relationship. This again is an example of if you're confident enough in yourself or what you're chasing in life, or what you believe, i.e. in this case, I believed that he was really interested. It didn't matter that I had this rejection. It didn't knock my confidence. It didn't make me feel any certain way. I didn't change my belief that he was interested. And in fact, my internal monologue was that of confusion. Like, what do you mean? So why is this important? Why are we talking about this topic? Because if we can reframe that rejection or decide to have a positive interpretation or perception, then we can stop it impacting our confidence, and we can even build our confidence and use our internal monologue as information. We're not disempowered by our circumstances. We are empowered to interpret it how we want, to respond how we want, deliberately choose our perception, make it a positive one, and then also use the information, so the doubts or fears or the inner monologue that come up, to identify where we need to build our confidence. It turns what could be a negative situation into an extremely positive one. So how do we do it? The most important step is to be generally stable and have a stable nervous system. The reason for this is that if we are in a negative place, in an anxious place, in a depressed place, then our perception of the world in general is going to be more negative. So it's going to be harder to choose a positive interpretation and reframe or even reject, in some of these cases, perceived rejection. The first thing is to look after yourself, meditate, be mindful and stay in the moment, have a good routine for your self-care. Make sure that there's elements of exercise, make sure that you're looking after your mental health through journaling, going for walks, seeing friends, feeling love in your life. So make sure you have, as much as you can, an element of stability and you're taking care of yourself. That's always the foundation of building your confidence. That will help you deliberately choose your perception. When you have heightened emotions, so if you realize you start to perceive rejection or feel yourself bracing for impact, bracing for disappointment or rejection, step in and do a nervous system stabilizing exercise, whether that's meditation, mindfulness, exercising, journaling. Make sure that you have a practice to help bring down your anxious thoughts, and we do have a video on our channel about how to respond to anxious thoughts and negative thoughts, so check that out if you need a deep dive. So you've got overall a stable nervous system and you're looking after yourself. When you experience bracing for impact or a perceived rejection, you step in. Once you've got to a stable place, write down factually what is happening. So let's say you're texting someone you're interested in and you notice a shift in energy and that the texts are colder. Are they definitely getting colder, or is that just your perception because you're in a negative frame of mind? So really trying to challenge yourself on what is factually happening and what is my interpretation, and try and separate the two. Once you've written down what factually is happening, write down all the perceptions or interpretations about what could be happening and put the most positive ones you can think of and the most negative ones. And feel free to be a bit creative with this, because what we're trying to tell our brain is just because we've been hurt or disappointed in the past doesn't mean that's going to happen now. So we're trying to pattern interrupt. So if someone's being slow with texting, it could be everything from they've become attached to me and I make them nervous and they're trying to play hard to get. It could be that they're just busy with work. It could be that something is going on with their family that they don't want to tell me about. It could be that they don't realise that they're being cold. It could be our own perception at this point in time and our own mood. It could be that they've just become more comfortable with us, so they're texting us in a more normal way rather than really overthinking their messages and sending big long messages with lots of questions because it's a newer connection. So think of all of the different explanations and then pick one of the positive ones, the most positive one, and tell yourself that, no, these messages aren't cold. This is just my own interpretation because, I haven't been looking after myself. Let me pour that energy back into me. It could be that I'm making them nervous, and that could help you become the most sort of cocky, confident version with them. Choose the most wildly positive one and keep telling yourself that internally. So every time a doubt or fear comes up, go, no, they're really into me. This is why they're texting in a nervous way. And that will help you be the most confident version of you that helps get you the outcome that you want. Whereas if you're feeling rejected, you'll likely push this person away or be dry on text messages back. And then finally, whilst you're choosing this most positive perception and interpretation, use your doubts and fears as information. What has triggered you to see something as rejection or start to see it as rejection? What brought that up? What is the internal monologue that you have? And how can you flip those beliefs? So for example, maybe you believe this person is out of your league. And what beliefs would you need to have about yourself, or would you need to reaffirm to change that belief and believe that you are good enough for them and to take them off the pedestal? And instead of putting your energy on overanalyzing this person, bring that energy back into yourself and work on those beliefs. Now, if you need some help with this, we do have 2 different digital workbooks. One is on how to shift your identity into your dream identity, but in this case, someone who gets what they want, gets the relationship they want, is never rejected. That workbook will help you and give you 25 pages of exercises on what are your current beliefs, what are the new beliefs, and how can you build that new identity and break these patterns? So that might be helpful if you often anticipate rejection. And if dating specifically is your challenge, we have another workbook on the top 3 beliefs that we see in our clients that stop them getting what they want in dating. And again, 20 plus pages of exercises to help you go from rejected to chosen in a dating aspect. So we'll link those down below, and keep working on those beliefs until you feel more positive about the situation and it reaffirms the positive perception that you have. Now, if you are advanced at this, if you've been working on your confidence for a while and you are good at shifting your mindset, shifting your perception into something more positive, what you can also do is just deny your reality and be delusional. Like the story I told about my ex-partner where he said, I don't want a relationship at work. And in my head, I just went, no, and continued on with my life. So if you're able to jump to that, this may happen naturally if you're feeling confident enough, but if you're able to just choose that and be delusional and go, nope, I'm getting what I want, that is also an option for you. But that is for those who are more advanced with this work. And if you are just starting to shift your perception when it comes to rejection, use the process that we have gone through in this video. And if you need some help, those workbooks are available, or you can book one-on-one coaching with us. So I hope that has been helpful. If you have any experiences with this or you have any questions or video ideas, let us know down below. We love to hear from you. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting and subscribing. That really helps the channel grow, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.